Hey guys, so you're probably wondering where the hell I've been. Well, if you do know me, you know that I like to actually render most of my videos on a laptop, and sometimes this isn't quite time effective. Just a warning before you watch the rest of this, you may hear the dogs playing in the background. I have a new dog. If you see my last video, we briefly mentioned him, and he likes to play a lot. But without that noise in the background, or with that noise in the background, I hope you can hear me okay. So yeah, usually I render stuff on a laptop, and this does take a lot of time, especially with this old Packard Bell, which is 5 years over. Well, 5 years it's been in my possession, and it's took a beating, and it literally is getting to the point now where it's falling apart. Pieces are coming off it. It's looking worse for wear. And it usually takes me about a full day to render an hour video on this piece of shit. Moving on, I bought myself a new one, and this is the Acer Nitro V. So I did a little research, and I actually went for the AMD version after everyone was telling me not to go for the AMD version. And this isn't because I'm an idiot, although I likely am, but my budget was pretty tight. It was obviously money I got for my birthday, as well as some other money that I'd managed to save up, and the result, I only had about £500. This was on offer on box.co.uk for £500. I think if we look for the Acer Nitro V on the interweb, which we shall do whilst you're here, Acer Nitro V, it's actually at £550 now, so it's up £50. I think this is the same version. So this, it says save £220, 54997. It comes with an AMD quad-core FX 9830P processor, which includes an R7 graphics on the chip, although we don't really need to use that because we've got a dedicated GPU on this. It's a 15.6-inch IPS display. It comes with Windows 10, Microsoft Home 64-bit edition. It comes with 8 gigs, but this one actually comes with 16 gigs of RAM, 128 gigabyte SSD. It's got a terabyte 5200 RPM hard drive, and it has the AMD Radeon RX550 4GB GDDR5 dedicated GPU. It can support up to a max of 32 gigabytes of RAM. It also has Bluetooth, which means I can pair my controller wirelessly for the first time ever, because even my PC can't do that. It has an integrated HD webcam, but I've not really tried it out, so I can't tell you if that's any good or not. It does have integrated stereo speaker, but these are actually at the bottom, and they support Dolby Digital. Let me just flip this out. Basically, I bought this cooling mat, which does actually lower the temps by about 5 or 6 degrees under load, so it does work. And because the air vents are on the bottom of the machine, it actually works pretty well. It hasn't done well, I tried a mat like this on my old laptop, and it didn't really change temps very much. And that's because I'm not sure where that took the air in from. It also has a HDMI out, an SD card reader. It has a Ethernet jack on the side. It has a USB-C jack as well for those that want to use that. It has one 3.0 port and two 2.0 ports. It has a combi jack for the headset, so it's just a single, I'm trying to think, 3.5mm jack, which it combines headset and audio together. It has a single color backlit keyboard, which isn't, you know, fantastic or anything, but it's red and it's backlit right now. You can't really see on camera very well, but it looks pretty nice. And it does work well in the dark. The only button that I can see that isn't exactly backlit is the key, is the space key. It isn't backlit at all. Yeah, so that's the only thing that isn't really backlit, is the space key. But in the dark, the glow from the other keys actually does add to some glow on the space key, which is nice. It comes with Acer 12 months warranty. It has 5 to 8 hours of battery life, which I say is a lie, because even under general usage, the battery life on this is probably 2 to 3 hours tops. Gaming usage, well, I haven't been able to figure out how to get the GPU working on the battery. I don't think it does. The GPU only seems to kick in when the cord is plugged in, so that negates that. And even if the GPU worked, I bet you'd only get about an hour out of it, tops, maybe a little less. The battery life really does kind of suck. As you can tell, the dogs are playing in the background. I know it isn't ideal, guys, but it is what it is. I'm the only one home, so I have to look out for the dogs. And unfortunately they play a lot, so I shall talk rather loud in the hopes that you can hear me. As you can see, I've installed quite a few things on here. I've installed quite a few games, and at first, within the first day of me owning this laptop, I was super disappointed because the performance was terrible, and I mean terrible. Even with that Radeon graphics, everything switched to modes that it should be at. I'll show you what I mean. So when you get one of these, if you have the AMD version, which no one seems to have on YouTube, you actually have to go into your system on here, and then you can go to Switchable Graphics, and you can set each program to go on what you want it to go on. So for example, you can see down here that it says R7 power saving. That is the onboard chip. Now that chip also takes 512 megabytes of RAM. So 512 megabytes of RAM is reserved for that chip, and the rest is free. So you'll end up, if you get the 8GB version, you'll end up with 7.5 gigabytes of RAM left, which may throw some issues in some games like Forza Horizon 3. It'll actually show up a warning until you upgrade to that RAM. So yeah, you set these, if you click on them, you can set them to high performance, and that switches it to the graphics card on board, and then you should get better performance. But I didn't. I was still getting around 12 FPS in Sea of Thieves and around 0 FPS in Forza and a few other games as well. We Happy Few. I couldn't even play the games on low. And this is where it got a bit confusing, because essentially I had to update. And updating this thing was a nightmare, because I updated Windows fine, I updated through the Acer fine, updated the BIOS fine to the latest one. And then I ended up with some issues. This was on 18.5.1, and that was the only one that would really work. To get to 18.8.1, I tried the installer, I tried a clean install, I tried every install possible, and it would not install 18.8.1 until I basically removed the AMD driver itself through the Windows app settings. I then installed it again, which said that it still come up with this thing saying your graphics drivers haven't installed. I then went back in, I uninstalled it, and then I reinstalled as a clean install, and that seemed to do it for me. The only thing that it doesn't do for me now is I can't right click on the desktop and go to Radeon settings. It's not there. I actually have to go down into here and click on Radeon settings here for it to come up. That's the only thing that's changed. The other thing that's changed, which is absolutely insane, is the performance. I'm going to say this because before it didn't even run Recore, it wouldn't run anything well. Now if I show you, I'm going to show you some games while I'm here. I already did a video of this, but I didn't upload it because I wanted to show you some gameplay now, which no one seems to have online. So I'm going to chuck up Sea of Thieves. Alright, we're updating Sea of Thieves, so that will not work. Damn! Because that was the game I wanted to show you guys. Working because the FPS went from 10 to like 50. I'm getting 50 on high now. 40 to 50 on high. Yeah, Gears of War does work, but only works to Act 3, and then I can't play anymore because it's an infinite loading screen. Forza Horizon. I'm going to show it you guys. I'll turn the volume down. I'm going to show it you guys because this is a common theme with AMD stuff. I found out is that Forza Horizon really doesn't like AMD stuff at all. In fact, it much prefers Intel when it comes to the graphics cards. So if you've got AMD, you're going to have a hard time running this regardless. Before the update, this wouldn't even run. After the update, I can run it, but with some caveats, and hopefully we'll get into that if it loads. Unfortunately, I can't show Sea of Thieves. That's really annoying me, because that game has jumped in FPS massively. Now, this does have a game mode thing, which Windows 10 includes now. So if we hold down the Windows key and we hold down the G key, it should come up here, which sometimes it doesn't for some reason. You have to sometimes do it a few times. Turning it on does boost performance, but minor performance, only a few FPS. So yeah, we'll boot this up, and here we go. We can turn game mode on now. That should cut out most of the background processes, so we can just stick with what's in the foreground, which is Forza Horizon 3. I'll turn it up a tad. The audio on this is actually really quite nice. Although the speakers are on the bottom of the laptop, the actual performance is pretty decent, and I've been enjoying the sound quality coming from it. Even at tops, it doesn't really go tinny like my old laptop did. If the camera's shaking, I apologise. Ted is do you want to see Ted? You've probably already seen Ted. He's moved out of the shot now. I can't really get him. So yeah, the sound quality is nice. I enjoy the fact that it's on the bottom. There's definitely some bass to it, and at the top volume, it's not tinny, or as tinny as I was expecting. In fact, it's not tinny at all, really. I've played some games at the top, and it hasn't really degraded the sound quality, which is nice. The IPS panel, again, the thing is, if you're watching this and you've already got a decent laptop, you might not notice a difference. But as I went from like a really crappy laptop, like you've seen, to this, the screen quality is night and day. The brightness isn't like mega bright, which is quite surprising. Although when you're in low light at night, which I usually play on my laptop then, I've been playing on this at night time with all the lights switched off. Actually, the screen brightness is good enough for me, and the quality is nice as well. It's nice and sharp. Obviously, it's only 1080p, so you won't be able to push to 4K, but you wouldn't be pushing 4K on a laptop anyway. Temperatures wise, I've not really monitored massively. I monitored a bit of temperature usage through MSI Afterburner, and for what I could gather, with this thing I've got at the bottom here, I don't know if you can see that. I've actually got I'll lift it up. I bought this from Amazon for a tenner. It has about 5 fans in. It has this nice steel mesh as well. The build quality is super shocking, but it works. It does cool the device by about 5 to 6 degrees depending on the game. Sometimes I was even getting cooling, it would even cool to 10 degrees. Without having it there, it would be 10 degrees more, if you see what I mean. I'm not explaining that very well. Forza Horizon does take forever to load on an AMD system for some reason. I don't know why, but it's just badly optimized. So it'll log me into Xbox Live, should sync the data, which it's been doing a lot recently. This does have 5 GHz Wi-Fi as well, so I can actually get decent speeds. I could download a 50 gig game on my internet within an hour, which is nice. I think I was getting, at some point I was getting like 200 megs a second of this thing, and my fiber tops out at 200 megs. So in fact I was getting more than that. One night I got up to 500 megs for about 5 minutes, and I don't know how with my fiber topping out 200 megs, but clearly the speed is available. Virgin just like to cap it off. So now it will go through its loading sequence, and before the update it would crash or it would load on low settings. Only every so often, I mean very rarely, every say 20 or 30 openings of the apps it would load. Now it's loading every other, so sometimes it would crash, sometimes it won't. But for the most part it does actually load now into the game. Obviously I'm running a Bristol Ridge APU, which apparently is about 3 years old from what I can tell, which is why I'm so baffled by how the performance was before the driver update. And the driver update does say it increases performance on the GPU from up to 10 to 15%, but I'm seeing performance all across the board up over 150%. So I don't know quite what's going on, but I can understand now why no one's picked this laptop up, because all the reviews state that the performance is awful, which was true. But I want to show you guys that it's not so bad. Now, Forza's a bad example anyway, because Forza runs like, you know, it doesn't run well at all, but at least it runs, which is what I want to show you, and hopefully I can get onto Sea of Thieves at some point and show you. But even if this video just shows you a little bit, I can do further videos down the line to show you the performance on other games. Older games as well is a bit weird. Fable Anniversary worked well before the patch, but after the patch didn't work so well until I did some setting adjustments, and then it seems to work well again now. But it didn't. But yeah, with 8 gigs of RAM you're going to struggle because of that APU cutting off 500 megs. I know it's only 500 megs, but it makes a difference. Yeah, you're going to need to really up the RAM to 16 gigs. At least I would recommend. The APU only requires 512 megs, so whether you've got 8 gigs or 16 gigs, it's still the same. You still only take 512 megs. Upstairs on a PC it's different because you can switch that part of the APU off and you can recover that lost memory that would be allocated on a laptop. In the BIOS settings, at least on this laptop, you can't do that. There's no way to take that 500 megs back off the APU and then use it elsewhere. It's not possible. So hopefully I'm giving you enough information. I do ramble on a bit. I don't have a script today either, so the likelihood is I'll ramble a lot more, especially when Forza takes so long to load. Like I say, it's just not a great great game. And here we go. We're finally in. I've capped the FPS at 30. I'll show you my settings. The game does not look great by any means, but it looks okay. And before, this wouldn't even run. So you can see I've capped it at 30. The main dip seems to be when those notifications pop up on screen. I'll show you my settings. I've gone in and tweaked it a little bit. So I've got it on full screen. I've actually got it at 900p and I've got it set at 30 FPS. I've got VSync off, although on doesn't seem to decrease performance massively, but I keep it off because I want those few extra FPS. Motion blur is off. I've got show FPS on, maximum pre-rendered frames free. Dynamic optimization I've turned off because with dynamic optimization it really does clog stuff up for some reason. It's terrible. I've also got threaded optimization on. When I switched it off, again, the frame rate dropped to unplayable frames. I've got I don't know how you say that, but it's some sort of filtering which smooths out the edges at 8 times. Shadow quality is off because shadow quality obviously takes a big hit on the CPU as opposed to the GPU. Motion blur is on medium. Environment texture quality I've put on high. Static geometry I've put on medium. Dynamic geometry quality I've put on medium. MSAA and FXA I've switched off because they seem to give up strange artifacts on the screen. I'm not entirely sure why. The reflection quality is low. Windshield quality, reflection quality I've turned off. It's not a big thing. Mirror quality is low. Walled car level of detail is medium, and deformable snow quality is low. These things can be changed around a bit so that you can possibly get a little bit more graphics performance and keep that FPS. The FPS mainly dips when the notifications pop up on screen and when you're driving at speed. Sadly with AMD, if you've got AMD, you will notice that the game does take a while to load, and in certain instances, if you're going so fast like I am now, eventually the road will run out and the game will have to load the road in. It just seems to be a thing with AMD that I've found. Doesn't seem to be so bad with Nvidia at all. So you can see now that the game is running okay. I'm not a great driver on this. I haven't played this game for so long. Back when I had the 360, I used to play Forza a lot, but nowadays I'm on the PlayStation, so I don't tend to play it so much. And obviously it didn't work too well on my PC, so I stopped playing this altogether. Especially after the patch updates, they ruined this game. So yeah, you can see now that it's playing fairly nicely. There is a few frame dips, but you can see that's when the notifications pop up on the screen. Let me move you up a little bit so you can see a bit better. Yeah, the quality is not fantastic, but let's face it, I've not seen anyone play this on a laptop, but that's because no one I have around me has a laptop that will actually run it. But yeah, it's running reasonably well. The frame drops are when the notification's on screen. The actual road is loading today, so I'm wondering if it's because the game has to load the road first time and then after that it's fine, but usually I run out of road. Today it's doing quite nicely and it's keeping the road in place. Sweet. Oh yeah, you can see the pop-in now. And it does this sometimes as well, it just stops to a standstill, which is weird. Very rarely it does that, but it does do it. So yeah, the game is potentially playable, although I wouldn't recommend it entirely. Unless you drop some more of those settings, maybe you'd get a bit of a better performance boost. But personally, since you drop the settings even more than I have now, the game looks terrible. And it already doesn't look great like this, so I wouldn't recommend it. By the looks of it, if they can patch it so that the game actually runs, which they have this time, thanks to AMD, it now runs, then I'm sure further patches down the line, again will either make or break this game. It'll either work, make the gameplay better, or the CPU is just too old and can't keep up with the data that's being forced through it. So that's Forza, and I'm really impressed with that personally, because even on my PC, which has an RX480 in there, not on mode. Test out We Happy Few now, just to show you that I am actually playing it, and it does say Windows G keys to start. This is actually a Steam game. If I link the controller, there we go. We can actually continue the game, and there we go. So I'm not streaming this at all, because obviously I haven't shown you boot it up. It is there. This is We Happy Few running on the Acer Nitro V AMD with the RX550. Now this game does run, I'd say, at about 30 FPS. I'm going to show you what settings that we're on. I can't really find an option to turn the FPS counter on, and I don't have fraps. I've been using mostly the in-game FPS counters, so unfortunately I won't be able to show you that today, but I can show you that it at least works on this laptop, which is pretty sweet. This game was released 2 days ago, but it has been, I have had it for about 2 years, I think. When did it hit early access? Quite a while ago, and I've had it since early access. I didn't kickstart it, but I did buy it when it first came out in early access on Steam. And honestly, it's pretty damn fun. It's a bit kooky, a bit weird, but it's pretty fun. I've been enjoying it at least. So yeah, you can see now that we've loaded in. I'll show you what settings I've got it on. So I've got it on full screen mode, I've got it 16:9, it's at full HD, VSync I've currently switched off, frame limit I've smoothed it, so 22 to 62 FPS. The gamma correction is there, the field of view is at 70, because I like a lower field of view, because I'm from a console, so the field of view is always lower there anyway. I've got the quality set to auto, or I did have it to auto, yeah, which sets it as such. And that's basically what I've got it on right now. And as you can see, once everything's loaded in, it runs alright. You can see there that there is a bit of screen tearing, and there is I'd say a bit of frame drops, but I can't count what the frame drops are. I think it's running at about 30, I think. To me, I mean, I'm from a console, so maybe I see things a bit differently. You PC gamers out there are probably going to look at this and go, oh, it's running terrible, but for me, actually, this is running okay. And this is the same when you're out in the world. It runs about the same. Sometimes it dips, but most of the time it runs pretty good. And for me, this is more than what I wanted from the laptop. I wanted the laptop to video edit and play maybe a few indie games. I was not expecting to be able to play AAA titles, although I was a bit disappointed when it wouldn't run certain things I threw at it. I was a little bit disappointed, especially with Sea of Thieves as well. But as you can see, basically it is now running stuff. So I reckon you should go get this laptop, more so than the Nvidia one, because it's £300 cheaper. It's way cheaper than the Nvidia version, and for what? You can still play current games at like medium settings. So that's We Happy Few. Unfortunately, I don't know the way out of here because I haven't got past this bit yet, and I don't really want to do it without the sound on, because the voice acting is awesome in this game. So We Happy Few works. It's a shame I can't get World of Warcraft running, and Sea of Thieves isn't coming up either. I'll try Sea of Thieves again. If not, then we can always try Recore, right? Yeah, Sea of Thieves is like, get out of here. So Recore is a game that would not work at all. And I mean at all. It just wouldn't. I tried playing it and the frame rate was so low, it was virtually unplayable. This is the last game I'm going to have to show you guys today, but I will show you some more games if you're interested. Let me know down below. I'm recording it off the camera because for me that's the best setup, so you get to see the actual frames the game's playing rather than less frames because I'm recording on the actual hardware, which would obviously result in less frames. So that's another reason I'm recording it through the camera. It's best, if you will. I can do some recordings off the hardware if you'd like me to. The frame rate will be lower, I expect. So yeah, this game wouldn't run at all. It was virtually, I say it wouldn't run. It ran, but it was unplayable completely. There was maybe 1 to 2 FPS before I updated the drivers, and after I updated the AMD drivers, well, we're about to see. I've been enjoying this game as well. I never watched the reviews for ReCore. I did hear that it got negative reviews, but I never watched them. And it is an Xbox exclusive, so it's something that I've wanted to play. And I don't have an Xbox, so Xbox Play Anywhere is what I've been utilising. I've also paid for a Game Pass for a couple of months to be able to play these games. But I'm probably going to be keeping that sub because more games are added to Game Pass every month that are Play Anywhere titles. And for me, it's cost effective to just do it that way. I'm not going to pay 30 quid for this game. Especially when I'm only going to play it for a few days, finish it, and then I probably won't touch it again. So yeah, ReCore. So before the patch, this bit was super laggy. It would take 10 minutes for the dog to walk across the screen. After the patch, well, we're about to find out. And then I'm going to render this lovely video on the laptop, and hopefully it will be a lot faster than on my old one. So again, I'm using the controller still. Although the light isn't on, I actually removed DS4. I was using DS4 tool, but it dropped the frames by about 10 frames. So I removed it and I gained FPS. And you can still use a PS4 controller with the Bluetooth on this, and it will work in Microsoft games, which is pretty cool. It doesn't work in... It also... Yeah, it does work in Steam games. We just tried it with We Happy Few. It works in Steam games now too, so you don't need that DS4 tool anymore, really. There may be the odd game it doesn't work in, but I'm yet to find it. This does take a little time to load. I'm really sorry, guys. I'm not going to cut the loading screens out so you guys can see how long it takes. And as you can see now, we are here, and you can see there is a couple of frame dips here and there, but beyond that, it's pretty darn smooth. It's pretty smooth. Even when the action heats up, it's still pretty smooth. Which is needed in an action game like this, to be honest, otherwise it just isn't worth playing. And I'm using the wrong bullets, I should be using these bullets. So yeah, you can kind of hazard a guess from this. You want to see what options I'm playing at, that may be useful to you. So I've got the brightness set halfway, as everyone should. I've got the resolution at 900p like the Xbox One. I've got it on full screen. I've got VSync turned on. I've got the target FPS as maximum. I've got the quality preset medium and the texture quality preset medium. If I go into advanced, you can see there I've got some anti-aliasing, but not masses. This is what I've kept it at. I mean, potentially if I turned it up to, let's say, high, and then press circle and circle, we'd probably see a few more frame dips here and there. Oh, well, actually this seems to be working as well. I don't know what FPS this is at, by the way, but yeah. I imagine it's probably around about the 30 mark. Oh my god, it works! On the quality preset of high. I didn't realise. Yeah, you can see there's a little bit, I don't know if you can notice it, I can notice it, there's a tiny bit of stuttering. Especially if you run past the objects, there's a little bit of, I'd say stuttering, but it isn't. It's almost non-existent, so it's not quite noticeable. Yeah, so this works. So there you go, guys. This is the AMD Nitro V RX550. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've enjoyed making it. It's a little bit more amateur than usual because I've just got a new laptop. All my stuff's on my old laptop, but nevertheless, this is the version of the laptop you should get because it's on special offer right now for £549 from box.co.uk. Probably on special offers abroad as well. I know it's on special offer at Curry's. You can get about £200, £250 off. and it beats paying 800 to a grand for the Nvidia version. And although it's got an old CPU, it runs games like a champ after the update. If you guys are having any issues with the update and you've got this laptop, do let me know. I will try and perhaps we could sort out a chat or something in Discord, and I can walk you through the process, because I know it's a little bit fiddly to get the update actually running, and I've seen on forums a lot of people having the issue. But once you've updated it, Jesus, does it boost performance. As you can see, it's insane. I don't know what the hell the AMD wizards have done. So I shall see you very soon, guys. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you didn't hit this like button, as always, subscribe, because it does push me to make more videos. Sadly, my schedule's been a bit like lax lately, but I've been busy and my laptop obviously has been broken, and I don't like doing stuff on a PC because I don't have a desk or anything set up upstairs with my PC set up on, so I don't really do stuff on PC. It's mostly on my laptop. I hope you can understand. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you very soon. Cheers.